Okay, the time is 2:30 and we're gonna go ahead and open up the meeting. If I can ask Tori, can you do the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I can.
Okay, thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tori. Do you want to go ahead and do roll call?
Yes, let me get to the right agenda. Roll call. Commissioner Ballesteros.
Present?
Commissioner Goodwin.
Present.
Perfect.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm having difficulties with everything, my laptop, everything, because I've been out of town, so it's just not acting right. Hold on.
It's mad at you.
I know. Okay, let me open this up again. I'm sorry. Tori, do you want to go ahead and read off the agenda while my system comes out?
Sure. So we're looking for the approval of the minutes of the Personnel Committee from August 15th.
Okay. So Commissioner Goodwin, can you either?
I'll make a motion for approve.
Okay. And who else is here?
Just you.
Oh, okay. And then I'll make the second. Go ahead and do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Goodwin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ballesteros.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. I forgot that we had comments from the public. Gabriela, do we have anybody from the public, either online or, I don't know if there's anybody in person, but online?
We do not.
Okay. Now I got my agenda up, so I'll go ahead and continue. Thank you for doing that for me, Tori.
Sure.
We're going to go to number 5, new business. We're going to start with resolution 3071, offer of employment to an executive director candidate. So go ahead and Tori, you could.
Yeah, so as you know, we've been doing a search for a long time, and we have a finalist, and we made an offer to Zulika Boykin, and she has accepted that offer, and we have negotiated a contract, and this resolution would authorize Commissioner Wizard to sign a employment contract with Zulika Boykin for 4 years, beginning on December 5th.
So this will go under the agenda as new business, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then also at the time when this comes up, anybody in the public or staff can address any questions in regards to the offer of employment or in regards to the candidate, the executive director candidate, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Commissioner Goodwin, or any concerns or anything that you have?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm all right. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so do we have a motion for this resolution to be placed on the agenda for our next board meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and I'll second the motion to have resolution 3071 placed on new business on the agenda for our October 24th board meeting. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Ballesteros.
Yes.
Commissioner Goodwin.
Yes.
Thank you. So now we're going to go to resolution 3072 under 5B, authorization to enter into a contract with the Employment Development Department. And go ahead, Tori.
Yeah, so this is something that the board has done in the past. It's a small contract, but they're a state department and they require a board resolution to enter into the contract. What they do is they match Social Security numbers with data that we provide, and then they provide us with current wage and unemployment and disability claims, as well as providing the client and employer addresses. So we use it as a compliance tool, and their costs are reasonable. And if they didn't require a board resolution, I would just go ahead and sign the contract, but I can't sign the contract unless the board authorizes me to do so.
Okay, so in this resolution, it would allow HACM to receive any employment information and disability regarding new clients and consisting clients, correct?
Correct.
I mean, not consisting, but continuing clients.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Commissioner Goodwin, or concerns?
No,
Okay, so do I have a motion to place resolution 3072 on the board agenda under new business?
I'll make a motion to put resolution 3072 authorization to enter into a contract with employment development onto the new agenda for what, the next meeting?
Yes,
Yeah, for the board meeting.
and I second that motion. Can we have a vote?
Commissioner Ballesteros,
Yes.
Commissioner Goodwin,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, under 5C, resolution 3073, consideration of administrative plan, chapter 4, applications, waiting list, and tenant selection changes. Go ahead, Corey.
Okay, so this is a longer memo, and they are some bigger changes. And I want to kind of explain what is currently happening. So what is currently happening is we have an extremely complicated preference system, and overlaying on top of that preference system is kind of a super preference for the set-aside homeless preference. And what has happened is in the last year, 89% of all of the vouchers that were issued have gone to households with the set-aside homeless preference. And the impact of that is twofold. One, it's a lot more work for staff, because what happens is clients get their application and they have all of these different preferences that they can check off, and human nature makes them check off all of the boxes because they figure they have a better chance if they check off all of the boxes. So then they recently, Maria, are you on? Did we called in like 700 people?
Yes.
Called in 700 people, and out of the 700, 600 didn't have the preferences. 650 didn't have the preferences they were claiming.
Majority, yes.
And so staff have to go through that process of saying, hey, I'm inviting you in for a voucher session. We'd like to verify your preferences. And then they find out they don't qualify for the preferences. So they don't get removed from the list. They just get their preferences removed, which then moves them down on the list. And so for us to offer the voucher to somebody, we have to find somebody who actually qualifies with the preferences that they're claiming that they have. And this is a huge amount of work that's taking place. The other piece is it means that anybody without this preference, or practically anybody without this preference, never gets served. So the only people that are being served are people with the set-aside homeless preference. The other piece that's happening is historically, the voucher waiting list to all of the other categories was closed, and then it would be open for, like 2 weeks. But we would keep open the set-aside homeless preference. And so anytime a caseworker out in the field with one of our partner agencies had somebody present as homeless, they would say, oh, there's a homeless set-aside, we're going to refer you and get you on the list. So what's happened is the set-aside homeless preference, that list kept growing and the main Section 8 list just stayed static. And so somebody who had been number 100, 2 months later is 120, and they just keep moving farther down the list. And so what we are proposing to do is make a number of changes to the local preferences, eliminating most of the local preferences. We currently have 11 local preferences. And what I'm proposing is that we get rid of most of them and that we keep the set-aside homeless preference, because I think it is a priority for the housing authority and the city and the county, but we change it from points to a ratio so that 1 out of every 5 vouchers that is issued goes to someone with this homeless set-aside preference. The other thing that I just want to mention, at the same time as we're being bombarded with people wanting the homeless set-aside preference, we have EHV vouchers that we're having trouble giving away. And so we would rather right now, while we have, what do we have, over 170 unused EHV vouchers, we would rather those vouchers be used first rather than the set-aside preference vouchers. And I think it could be a different story when the EHVs are all used about what we do. But right now we have a dedicated resource for folks with homelessness. The other challenge is folks that are getting the set-aside homeless preference are not necessarily the most vulnerable and would have been referred by EHV. So they're jumping ahead of some of the even most vulnerable households. So I'm happy to go into more detail, but what we are really trying to do is streamline the process. It is currently in our admin plan, it is already a lottery-based system, but we have been using time and date, even though the admin plan says lottery. So we're going to make it clear that it is a lottery system. So voucher program is open for 2 weeks. It doesn't matter if you were the first person to apply in the 2 weeks or if you were the last person to apply in the 2 weeks. You're all in the lottery, and then you're given a number. So happy to go through more details. I had sent you earlier a track changes version. The version that is in the packet is not track changes. Let me go through my track changes version here and see if there's anything else that's really critical. We added targeted funding. We added the FYI vouchers and the EHV vouchers so that they are eligible for special admissions, which means that they don't have to go kind of on the normal waiting list. And then the local preferences that we want to keep a preference for any family that's been terminated from the voucher program due to insufficient program funding. So this hasn't happened to HACM yet, but it has happened to other housing authorities where they issue vouchers and then HUD tells them, no, you have to cancel those vouchers. And this preference means then once you have money for more vouchers, the people that you had to take a voucher away from are the very first people to be given a voucher. So we would keep that preference. And when that preference is being used, the set-aside homeless preference would be suspended until the formerly terminated people were offered a voucher. And then we would get rid of all of the other local preferences except for the set-aside homeless preference, and we would switch it from point-based system to a ratio of 1 out of every 5. So would you like me to tell you what all the other preferences are?
Yeah, oh, I just have one question. What does EHV stand for?
The Emergency Housing Voucher Program. So it's a program specifically for homeless.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yes, go ahead, Tori.
So currently, we have a preference for living or working in Monterey County. We have a preference for being a working family. We have a preference for being elderly or disabled. We have a preference for being a veteran. We have a preference for being involuntarily displaced due to HUD action or to avoid reprisals or by government action. And we have a VAWA preference, which is the Violence Against Women Act. And we have a live-in-place preference for people who are in a unit where the landlord would accept the housing choice voucher. And we have an additional formerly homeless voucher preference if you were formerly homeless. So those, and then we have the set-aside homeless preference. So those are all of the current preferences that we have. And it has just become unwieldy. And so from a high-level policy perspective, the way that HACM was doing its waiting list is kind of the old school way. And housing authorities used to do this all of the time of saying, hey, we want to make sure that the people who are most worthy are at the top of the list. And so, you know, if you were a working elderly veteran, you would have more points than somebody who is just in need of a voucher and isn't elderly or working or a veteran. And so you would say, we want to give the voucher to the veteran. The more modern and the more streamlined way is to say, we recognize that the voucher, there aren't enough of them to go around. And from a nationwide perspective, only about 1 in 4 people who are even eligible for a voucher will ever get one. So not everybody who is eligible is going to get one. A lot of, in the business, it's kind of called the golden ticket, because it's like winning the lottery in terms of the ability to change your life. And I think that more of the modern streamlined version of administering this program is, then let's treat it like a lottery. And we're not going to have all these complicated preference systems. And we're just going to say, anybody who applies within that 2-week period, they go into a lottery process, and some of them are winners. So that's what this resolution does. And I'm happy to answer questions and happy to have a full discussion with the full board as well.
Okay. Thank you, Tori. Commissioner Goodwin, do you have anything, any questions, concerns, or anything to add?
Kind of.
Go ahead.
Okay, I know about the well, I got my Section 8 on the lottery, and that I was already in place. But if a person is already in place and they were called, their name was pulled, but they only have enough points, like say, if they met the medical criteria, like for their child, and what if they don't get all of their information in the deadline? Does that mean that they're, I mean, like if they have do they have a deadline?
So like, when they fill out the application, none of the information is verified. So people just check off boxes and say, right, I qualify for all of these preferences. And then when they get called in, then they would have a deadline of when they need to verify these things.
They
But
would.
a lot of times what happens is they come and it's just a conversation of like, okay, it says here, you know, you're a veteran. We need your DD 24, which is like your honorable discharge papers. And they go, oh, I'm not a veteran. And it's like, oh, well, you checked that box off. And it's like, oh, yeah, well, I thought it would help. It's like, okay, you know, it says you're formerly homeless. Yeah, no, I'm not really formerly homeless. Okay, so.
So, you know, I see what you're saying, but say they didn't check off all the boxes, but they had an interview and they had a child with special needs, and they have to get documentation from the child's physician. And what is the time frame that they are given to get in their documentation?
So when they are asked to come in, they're provided with a list of all the documentation that they should bring with them.
Okay.
And then if they don't have it when they bring it in, the staff would interview them and find out, okay, do you really do have the, you know, you do have the preference, but you need to verify it. And then they would usually give them like a week or two to 2 weeks to verify it. But what's happening right now is somebody with just one preference, like just disabled child, they're not even getting called in.
Okay. But I mean, everything is taken into consideration. There's financial need as well.
Everybody has to qualify from a financial standpoint to be eligible. And we don't have a preference other than the working preference would be a preference for people who actually are a little bit higher income, but still eligible. And we're recommending to get rid of that as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sorry. So, my question is, I know that when this comes up on our, after we, vote right now, or we have a motion, I do want to say, I know that maybe some staff are going to come in, probably also to the commissioners will probably have a lot of general questions for you. So I know that you will provide all that information. And the reason I'm stating this is because probably a lot of people may not understand it is a lot of work for the staff, the way it's been going. And this is just to try to help the process to be smoother and easier. And even though, because too, you may have some public comment like, you know, are you eliminating certain things? You know, if some of those questions will bring a challenge, you know, on your end, you know, to try to explain it. I believe you'll provide all that information when the time comes and on the board agenda scheduled for October 24th.
Yeah, and I'm happy to answer those questions when they come, but in general, it's shifting from a system that today is very complicated and is trying to say some people are more worthy of a voucher than other people. And moving to more of a lottery-based system that says we don't have enough vouchers to serve everybody, not even in any one of these categories. So we're giving everybody an equal shot.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. So do I have a motion for this resolution 3073?
I make a motion for resolution 3073, consideration administrative plan, chapter 4, application waiting list and tenant selections to be put on the table for the October 24th board meeting.
Okay, so it'll be under business, correct, Commissioner Goodwin?
In new business?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if my wording was right. I apologize.
Okay, and I second that motion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Ballesteros,
Yes.
Commissioner Goodwin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Tori. So now we're gonna go to number 5D, project-based voucher discussion.
So this is really a discussion. There's no resolution at this point in time. But I wanted to have a discussion with the board about how the project-based voucher program works. And that's what this memo does, is kind of, it outlines some of the issues. And assuming that you approve having the discussion, I don't necessarily want to have the full discussion twice and kind of take up your time with that. But the issue is there's a cap on the amount of vouchers that we can project base. And we are close to our cap. And so we have a total of 512 units left that we could project base. And both Maria and I are constantly asked by developers and owners to project base vouchers with them, or to project base more vouchers with them. And the way that they get vouchers is by the Housing Authority issuing an RFP. And so Maria and I don't really need a resolution from the board to say, do this. We just need to be able to talk about the issues and get some guidance about how the commissioners would like to see the project-based voucher program work in the future. Because then we can issue RFPs that say, these are the things that we want. These are the types of programs that we want to put project-based vouchers in. And that would be helpful. So we then, in the memo, there's a list of where all of the project-based vouchers are and who the owners of many of those deals are. And you can see when you're looking at this list that a ton of the vouchers have been used in conjunction with HDC. And the project-based voucher makes a lot of deals possible that wouldn't otherwise be possible. And so in the beginning of our project-based program, we primarily only awarded vouchers to HDC and to Michi. And it was to create new affordable units. And that's one of the big questions is, of these 512 vouchers that we could project base, and just so that we're all clear, we don't have new vouchers. We don't have extra vouchers to project base. Project basing the voucher means a mobile voucher can no longer be used as a mobile voucher, and it's converted to a project-based voucher. So we're not talking about extra vouchers. We're just talking about changing project-based vouchers into mobile vouchers. And how much of the vouchers that we haven't used should we keep for ourselves, for our own development, and how much should we feel that we can offer to other developers? And if we offer them to other developers, should they only be for permanent supportive housing? Should they only be for formerly homeless? Could they also be for family projects or elderly projects? What are the parameters that the board would like to see? And the other question is, this is all completely voluntary. So we don't have to use 512 vouchers. That's just the maximum that we could do. But once we've done that, then we would never be able to do it again. So I just wanted to have a conversation with the board to kind of lay out this whole history and this process of where we are at, and kind of say, the staff and I would love some guidance from the board about what you would like the future of the program to look like. And you can see these approved but not yet executed, very different group and feel as opposed to what had been executed in the past. So none of these are being done by HDC or Michi. You know, they're all being done with other developers. Only one of them is being done in Salinas. All the rest are being done in other communities. And what I don't know is, you know, was that the board's direction, or was that just, hey, we were getting applications from developers in these different areas? So that's the conversation that I'd like to have with the full board.
I think it's a great idea, Tori, and especially how you stated that you would like project-based vouchers to be changed to mobile vouchers. Is that what you said? Just trying to.
No. So it's a mobile voucher gets turned into a project-based voucher.
Oh, all right, got it. Okay. Yes, I think it would be great to have that as a discussion, and too, because I believe some of the other commissioners would have a lot of questions that maybe me or Commissioner Goodwin may not come to mind to bring up. And so I think that would be great. So let's go ahead and put that on the agenda.
Great.
Okay, so Tori, do you think that we should just go to number 7 and we'll do closed session so that way your staff can finish up, you know, what they're working on their desk, or
Yeah,
how do you?
that is fine.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna bypass closed session number 6 on the agenda and go to number 7, just in order to accommodate the staff that's still working right now at HACM. So number 7 information, 7A is the HR report. And is that you, Tori?
James, are you on?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, James.
No changes to report other than we did lift, or a couple of changes actually. We did lift the mask mandate effective last week. Employees still have the option to wear masks in the workplace. We did get approval from the union to kind of implement that change as well. Visitors and when dealing with vendors outside, masks will continue. Employees will continue to wear masks when dealing with the public. Just for right now, for just safety measures, just to kind of keep everything together. As far as recruitment goes, everything is still filled up. We did hire a housing navigator, eligibility specialist, and we promoted an internal temp that we had, a SAUDA. So as of this moment, we are fully staffed with the exception of one, which is property management 1, that we're currently looking for. And then also the executive team. That's going to be postponed until the executive director comes on board. That's all I have for right now as far as changes goes with the HR board report.
Thank you, James. Anything else, Tori, that you have?
Nope.
Okay. So we'll now, thank you for that, James. So we'll go to 7B under information, the housing programs.
Let's see, trying to go in there. So right now, like Tori had mentioned, my staff is working really hard in getting files ready for a briefing for a regular HCV. They're going down the waiting list for those that do qualify high enough on the waiting list based on preference. Staff is also working on getting all their annuals regarding their the payment standards being effective in October and November. We still continue to have our waiting list open for One Parkside. We are also going to be opening a waiting list for Villa Del Monte, probably the first week of November or the second week, depending on the advertisement. And that population is only for elderlies to qualify for Villa Del Monte. And let's see. I think that's it right now. And staff is still continue to work with EHV, which is the emergency housing vouchers. We do have a lot of clients out there looking. Our housing navigator has pretty much scheduled some appointments with some of the clients, and also she's working with a lot of new landlords. So hopefully we're able to see our numbers increase for EHV. And I believe that's everything in my department, unless the commissioners have any questions.
Maria, do you, Villa Del Monte, is that a new property, or it's been in the property and there was a name change? Or
No, Villa Del Monte, it was back in 2000 and I believe 18 or 19, when HUD had requested the Housing Authority to accept their tenant protected project-based vouchers. So, so eventually there's 80 units. Eventually all of those units will be project-based. So these are only studios and 1 bedrooms. So we pretty much have exhausted our waiting list, and I have been working with the landlord or the manager and the owner to try to get more elderlies to qualify in that area, which is in Seaside.
okay. Commissioner Goodwin, I'm sorry, do you have any questions in regards to the HR report or the housing programs? I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Thank you, Maria.
This is kind of a personal technical question. If I switched over to the from the choice to the what do you call it? The other one.
Project-based.
The project-based, I'm sorry. Anyway, if I wanted to switch back, would I be allowed to, or are they available?
Yes, you would just need to talk to your housing program specialist, and then we would, I believe we also have a list, but if we do, we'll let you know. But if you do plan on moving out from one of our project base, you need to notify your manager.
Okay, well, I mean, that would mean I'd have to move then.
Yes, and then it would be, then we would transfer it to a regular housing choice voucher.
Okay, well, I think I'll stay planted. Thank you.
Okay. So now, thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
So now we're gonna go back to item 6, closed session. And it's for the government code section 54597 personnel matters. Go ahead, Tori, and bring us back into.
Okay, so it is 3:10 and executive session has ended and there's nothing to report.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to agenda item 8, and it's for commissioner comments. Commissioner Goodwin, go ahead.
Okay. My turn, okay.
Yes,
Anyway, thank you, Commissioner Ballesteros and Tori for all your feedback and information. Thank you.
thank you. Tori, and to all the staff at HACM, thank you for all the information. We know that there was a lot of information provided, so thank you to the staff, Tori, and also to you for helping us along this path. And we'll look forward to the meeting on Monday, October 24, 2022 at 5 p.m. So I now will adjourn the meeting at 3:11 p.m. Thank you, Tori.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.